What's going on, YouTube world? Steve, Dave, Insert Revolution, podcast, episode 59. We're here. It's been a challenge, but that's all right. We're here. The Braves game, like I said, went in extra innings. Couldn't do anything about it. They preempted us. They pushed us back. So that's why we're starting a little later. So this is true, Jason. This is very true.
Blame it on baseball.
Yeah. And then earlier I saw Bobby. So,
hey, as I said, we're right on brand. So come on, things happen.
Yeah,
it's always Dave's fault.
It is. This is 100% true. Except that one time, I think you had food that you had just gotten like right at 7. So I mean, the one time it was Steve. Every other time, it literally has been me.
Yes. Yes.
Who are we sponsored by tonight? Yingling. Get the Yingling out. Nothing fancy over here. Shocking, I know. I am. I can be blamed for all. The shoulders and the stomach are big enough. What's going on, Matt? And what's going on,
Yannick?
Oh, yeah, I haven't. For a topic tonight, which I know we'll probably get into a little bit later, the consumption of like content, and this can vary. The last, I don't know, two weeks, week and a half, it's been minimal at best. I'm not clean. I'm not. I wish I was squeaky clean. Yeah, and when I go visit my brother and it's food time, it's mostly going out to eat to places that are non-existent up in Ely. So Indian cuisine, like the old smoke shacks, like the rib houses or supper clubs or stuff of that ilk, where I think the only things we went to was like a Freddy's steak burger. I think my brother's like, oh, Naomi, my daughter, would like that. And I'm fat, so I try a chicken sandwich anywhere I can go because that's what I do. And Buffalo Wild Wings, because the place we wanted to go to in Superior on the way back wasn't open on Monday or Tuesdays, or else you would have seen a picture of a hot beef sandwich, which that is absolutely the best. And it's like $10, and it's like a plate where you, like a serving plate the size of what you put a small turkey on at Thanksgiving. So I was in food heaven, but at the same time I was a struggle bus as I worked into the workday today. So by the time that the workday ended, I was like, man, I got a lot done, but it still feels like I can do more. But I'm glad I didn't, because there's going to be enough work coming up. And we're moving stores. We got, like I've said, possibly in the previous podcasts, we're going from one spot in town to an old Shopco building. And that's going to double my freezer space, which is nice. At the same time, doubles my work. But I've said to the boss numerous times, because we're merging with another grocery store in town, more or less. We bought them out. So I said, I don't want any other people with me. I know what I want to do. I don't need their help. I don't need assistance. I mean, whatever, but just I'll set this up, the help of the guys from the warehouse, the way I want to do it, because I know it sells. I've been in there long enough, and it's not. I don't need, because I think the warehouse sort of went in with us on this deal financially, so he's trying to sort of push that. I'm like, I'll have their stuff, but if there's something they can't get, I'm not going to sit there and like, oh no, I'll fill it with crap from them while we can get something from the other store's warehouse or another vendor. I'm like, that's you're not doing a service to your customers and clientele that, oh, we can't carry this because of such and such. No, that shouldn't be how it works, and that should have been something you worded immediately. Like, that's what we're gonna do. We will be loyal to you, but if we can find something from someone else, that's what the plan is. So I've got that the store closes next Monday, and so like next Tuesday to like the 27th is going to be fun, a lot of fun, just work upon work. So,
Well, at least you can still look forward to, the following Tuesday. There is no working into the evening hours, whether your boss wants you to or not. You can tell them to go stick it where the sun doesn't shine.
will fuck off because he's like, you have to go here and go do this, and I'm like, I gotta pick up my daughter. You're gallivanting around. He's like, go walk down to the store because we're on the 300 block. That store that we purchased is on the, I think, 1100 block. So there's 9 blocks because the park is basically a 2 block. And you want me to go there, come back, and then walk home? I'm like, I already put on more miles on my feet in a week than you do in like 5 years. So I'm like, no, I'm good. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Keep telling yourself that, Dave. Keep
Oh,
telling yourself that. Try and stay positive. Positive that it's going to suck.
yeah, I was gonna say, keep my head up so I can't smell the bullshit. It'll take longer to get to my nose.
That's one way to look at it, I guess.
Anything coming in? Anything pop up at all? Or
Now the one card I was going for, it's one of those in which I still have these pre uh, pre blow up prices in my head, I guess. And the one card that I alluded to last week, I lost. I I lost immediately when I put my bid in. Uh, it's one of those in which, I mean, guess I understand it why it went for what it did, but at the same time, it makes me have to take a few steps back and reassess certain things. I mean, it's one of those in which when you haven't seen something in a long time or you've never seen it, it's hard to really make a not necessarily make a play, but you still, as you look at things, regardless of how frequent it's listed or how frequent you see it or anything along those lines, most
Mhm.
of us have defined prices in our head. And as I was prepping to place my bid, I changed it like 2 times. I kind of went up each time just to because I'm like, it's at this, I feel like this is going to be a strong play. But the minute I hit, place bid, I was immediately outbid. So I wasn't the only one. Uh, Somebody had placed a bid, I think, like 3 seconds after I did, which was pretty much right at time.
Yeah.
So it probably was a snipe, but it was one in which somebody who placed a bid an hour or so before that is the one who won it. It went for $41.
Okay.
It's a card number to 15 from 2001. It's one of those in which I still thought I bid fairly strong since it was sitting at $9.50 for the longest time.
Yeah.
You would think you bid almost $39, you run a have a pretty good chance. Well, I failed, but it happens. I've said before I'm a cheap ass, and I'm going to remain a cheap ass. But for something like that, at least I have an idea of what the competition would look like in the event that something pops up again. I'm probably going to have to go higher than that. And that's fine. But at least I have something to go off of. This is one in which I had nothing to go off of.
Yeah, and for something like that low number, it's not like 20 years ago. A card from 20 years ago is not popping up all that often, which in the grand scheme of things, it sucks because again, that's something that's like, God, I'd love to get it. Then B, or that's like the initial sticker shock of the card. You're like, well, huh, that's interesting. But at least you can be like, okay, I know now. Somebody sees that sale, they're like, well, I've had this card for 18 years. It's in a box. I don't need it. They put it up. Even if they put it up at like a buy it now best offer for like 50, you're like, okay, we might not screw around that much because if it's something, it's not on your top 10, on your top 25, but it's something that's like, I know getting one of these in hand is going to be appealing, whatever it may be. And you're like, I'll spend the extra few dollars just to make sure that this comes home where it belongs. Because again, those number to 15, even the number to 25s from back then, and it doesn't have to be a superscript, it doesn't have to be a credentials, it doesn't have to be a PMG or the Fleer 24 karat. It can be a lot of those other oddball cards that you just don't see. Even the like the early 2000s Fleer stuff had some wonky numbering when you got down to some of these parallels and the insert parallels. So if you don't, and this is no knock on you, but if like let's say you see that again and it's at that 50 fixed, buy it now. You sit there, wait, put on the watch list, hope that there's a discount of some sort, or do you just say, you know what, I'll pay $9 more, and guess what, I'm going to be happy because you know where it's coming.
I may take the initial risk of submitting an offer of right around what it sold for.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to sit there and wait an extended period of time to see if for any reason I get a counter or anything along those lines. In situations like that, as I said, I'm a cheap ass,
Mm-hmm.
and I will stay true to form from that perspective. Uh, but at the same time, it's one of those in which I'm not going to sit and wait in the event that something does happen, because the person who bid right above me could also, for all practical purposes, want the same card. So I know there's at least going to be competition between myself and one other person at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to take a chance and wait too long in those situations. But at the same time, it also depends on how long it's been listed. You
Yeah.
know, I don't do as frequent searches as what I used to. Uh, because as I've said, the budget is a lot more limited these days because I priorities, and cards are not the priority. I know that's crazy for me to say as a collector. Oh wait, I only pick up roughly one card a month. I'm not a collector anymore, and I don't spend a lot of money. I forgot. So I'm not sure what I am. Uh, excuse the jab there for a minute. But it's one of those in which it also depends on the situation. Okay, so I do like 2 checks a day. Before I used to look, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 times a day just to see what was new type situation.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys. And it's not that I don't have the motivation or anything along those lines to continue to pick up stuff. Uh, it's starting to get into, we're now in October. Christmas is right around the corner. Before we realize it, Christmas is going to be here, which is crazy to think. I feel like we just started 2021 like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, money goes to other places. It's all about Christmas for the wife, the kids, the family, things along those lines. So priorities really start shifting. Uh, so honestly, you're probably going to see a lot less out of me from that perspective. I still need to make a video since I haven't done that in the last, 3 months, I think, for the 4 cars that I've picked up, which I'm very, very proud of.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's one of those in which it's either I'm getting more selective. Uh, I'm not willing to quote unquote overpay for something. In my eyes, I'm not willing to overpay for something.
Yeah.
Uh, but at the same time, for something serial number to 15, it's one of those in which those don't come up very often. So, like you said, if somebody does put one up and I buy it now at $50, hoping to make a few extra dollars, it's hard to say. It's all going to be dependent on timing in that situation. Uh, if and when I go my cheap ass route and put in an offer for $40, or if I just buy it now and call it a day. Timing is everything for me specifically. It seems these days, the last 2 cards I've gone after, I have failed miserably, and one of which was a top 10 card, which really hurts.
Yeah.
But it's one of those in which things happen for a reason, and it's not something that may or may not surface again. At least the top 10 card specifically. The other one, it's hard to know. 2001 number to 15, hell, it may be another 10 years before I see another one. And by then it could be $80. I don't know. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, it's always tough because I'm sure there's more TDs on the Bay of E where you like, man, if funds were a bit more generous, I pull a trigger on a few things here and there. But at the same time, you don't want to figuratively, and again, whoever won it, if that was the guy that bid a day ago, an hour ago, and the underbidder bid with 3 seconds left and didn't win, well, who knows how much higher that would have went. You're like me, you bid with like 6 seconds left, you see bid, then you're just pushing numbers to try to jump up. You could be paying like that $80 for it now and be like, well,
Well, I also took time into consideration. It ended at 11 o'clock Central,
okay.
so that's midnight Eastern,
Hmm.
9 p.m. Pacific. So, a later auction, I took that into consideration. The fact that it hadn't moved in price in 2 days, it's like, okay, well, I've got a good chance at this one. So I managed to force my old ass to stay awake. It's getting harder and harder these days to stay up that late, uh, unless it's podcast night. But yeah, it sucks when you lose things, which I've done a lot lately. I'm so used to going back in the day to where if I lost something, it was somebody went like crazy high on something. Uh, but that was then. This is now. So the selection becomes more limited because I'm a lot more leery. I'm a lot more selective because there's a lot of things I could have gone after and sold for reasonable amounts. A few one-on-ones for some newer products and things along those lines. But it's like, do I want to spend that on this and get something that's rare
Hmm.
in a newer product that really is more outside of my collecting goals, or do I try and focus on stuff that actually fits within the collecting goals? It's that it's that give and take. But what really pisses me off is the whole Thursday situation. and I know you and me and Vinny were talking about it specifically.
Hmm.
Uh, I had 6 or 7 on the watch list on Thursday and gotten, and for the life of me, sometimes it happens. You get busy, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're watching a movie, you're watching something else or whatnot, and you're just not paying attention to the time, and time gets away from you. No eBay freaking notifications because there was two of them I probably wasn't going to bid on because I had a feeling they were going to go higher than what they did, which I was surprised. They went cheaper than what I thought they would, which is a good thing
Hmm.
outside of the fact that I couldn't bid on them. But there were a few other ones that were really in the lower price points that I could have been able to mark off the list, which absolutely sucks. When you get no notifications and you lose track of time, and then you go and you look at your ended and you're going, oh crap, is today Thursday? Damn it. So that hurt more than the losing the card number to 15, honestly, because some of those I could have made a decent run for.
Yeah. Yeah, that eBay notification stuff has been subpar to say the least as of late. I mean, there's stuff where it's like, oh, auction's ending soon, and I'm like, I see it, and I'm like, I think this one's over. Then you go to your like what you're bidding on or your watch list. It's like I don't see it. Go to end it, and it's like there it is. That's what I was hoping for from this notification. I want to know when it's done. I don't want to have a chance to win it. Let me know it's over with.
Oh, come on. Maybe that's the intent these days. The eBay notifications is like, oh, hey, by the way, dumbass, you forgot to bid on this. It's over. So sorry. Try again next time.
Absolutely, yeah, mind numbing that happens, and yeah, because I know Vinny had some that he was going to try to hammer off, and you had yours, and it just you think at some point through eBay that would, and I know people out there if they watch this they'll say, well, go to like a sniping site. Well, realistically, yeah, that'd probably be best. At the same time, though, and it's not like the thrill of, oh man, I'm gonna bid at the end. It's I physically want to do this. If it's like bad weather outside, something like that, yeah, that's when you're like, okay, I'm just gonna put whatever I'm gonna put in, know that I've got that. But if the weather clears, I'm like, okay, now maybe I go higher because you have a bid of 150 and you're sniped. The card went from like 60 to 120, and it's 10 minutes left. You're like, oh, that's a big jump. Okay, but I really want to get it. So you might just be like, I'll bid 200 then, whatever. I had that happen last night and got smoked on a card. And very rare that I lose a Josh Johnson one of one, but this one had Stanton and Hanley Ramirez, and I bid strong and I still lost. I mean, dumb strong. So um, it sucks. And eBay again, it's not like, oh man, they're like a PSA or a BGS where they're just like swamped. They've been swamped for years, over a decade with cards. So I know that's not all they do, but that I'm thinking has got to be not maybe dollar percentage wise, but listed auction wise, a healthy chunk of sold items under the eBay canopy have to be in the card, even the sports realm of things. So yeah, to have those notifications not go off, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, it pissed me off. Because, like I said, 7 cards I think I had on the watch list. All were needs, 2 of which I really wasn't planning on or wouldn't have planned to go after.
Hmm.
But at least it was nice to see them kind of drop from previous auctions.
Okay.
So that still gives me an idea of where they are in the event that they pop up again. So it's, and they're two that are high on the want list. They're not top tens, uh, but still high on the want list. The other ones were just ones that, like I said, they're needs, but it's nothing that was super rare by any stretch of the imagination. It's just ones, well, one specifically I hadn't seen in quite some time.
Hmm.
Uh, so that would have been a nice to have, but it's can't win them all, as they say. Uh, I accepted that a long time ago, especially since the budget has dropped uh, since the big boom of the hobby. Can't make a lot of play on some of these, and I have to be extremely selective, as I've said. But I'm still satisfied with the few that I have picked up over the past few months. Uh, and that's if that maintains through the end of the year, I'll still be satisfied. I won't hit my goal. Yes, I know I'm actually using the term my goal, uh, since I don't set them, but to a degree I did at least this year. And there's still 3 months. Who knows?
Well, that's the thing too. It when you decide to sell the, if again you go that route or you go another route with those Kobe's and all this other stuff, if you go that way, whatever money that eventually generates too. Like, okay, we're gonna set aside for whatever you said you and the missus are gonna discuss, and then like, you know what, I really wanna, even if I don't get 8 of my top 30 or whatever, if I can get one of those top 3 to 5s, that's costing more than I really want to pay, but I don't want to wait another 4 to 5 years, and God knows where the market goes then. Because again, this will hopefully sort of segue into our discussion topic tonight. Because again, it's always ebb and flow, correction, inflation. It's at some point it'll go back up, it'll come back down, it'll come back down a little more. You might see a spike in it, but then 5 years from now, that some of those PMGs, some of the other cards have been out at that time for close to 30 years. You're not, this isn't, at some point, that it's not going to be the stories we've read over the past 10 to 15 years. All these guys were redoing a house, busted open the wall to redo it, find a cigar box in there and some cards. You're not going to have those stories in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, because everybody else sold it or been buried with it. So to try to get some of those cards, and we've talked about it privately, we've talked about it on here, in group situations. You want advice? You see a price that's good. First, think maybe it's too good to be true. At the same time, if it's from a reputable person, get it. Even if you're paying a little more, get it. Because we've both been in the boat where we look at a card, you're like, oh, okay, I'll get something else. 6 months later, you're like, that card doubled. Okay. I'm like, now I really am not looking at that card because that's just, it's too much. And that I wish Paul was in here with the invest, the arrow going up.
Paul's working the night shift again. He actually messaged me on Instagram late last night, letting me know that he probably wasn't going to be able to be on, uh, which is always nice to hear from all the guys in the event that they can't be here for whatever reason. So we're not asking. Uh, we know we're in competition with the Red Sox Yankees game. We get it. This isn't primetime TV.
No.
So we know Ed probably won't be here. If he is, he may have us in the background as background noise.
Hmm.
Uh, L.A. Pats probably won't be hanging out because he's a big Red Sox guy. We know Paul's working. Uh, so we always run into those challenges, especially this time of year with baseball postseason, and at some point in the near future we'll have playoffs for football. Even though on Tuesday night we don't usually have playoff games, but at the same time, uh, we always are in contention with something, which is okay. Uh, we've come to expect that over time, and for those who consistently are here uh, watching us and contributing, it's always appreciated. As we always say, we're here for you guys at the end of the day, um, because Dave and I could do this every day technically, uh,
Yeah.
but I digress as it because then at what point does too much hobbying become an issue? Uh, since you said segues into the topic, that's another segue into the topic.
Which that it's I know Vinny and I can be placed in the category of the too much hobbying to a degree where it's not, and this is no slam at our friends, but there's some folks out there that you don't need a video every day if you're rehashing the same subject. We went on earlier this year and we talked a little, I think, about the NFTs, some of that stuff. And I mean, we didn't have standalone. We didn't have a standalone show about it, even though it was an interesting, I'd say, an interesting concept. But when you don't have proper knowledge or a depth of knowledge on it, you literally don't need to be putting your opinions out there just to have another video just to say, I put my opinion in the hat. Well, it's like a blind man telling you about all the colors he sees in a rainbow or in like a sunset. It it'd be an interesting point of view, obviously, but it does nothing to further the narrative or bring something positive. Well, I won't say that. I think again, if you've got some knowledge of a situation, a knowledge of okay, Manny, all-star jersey shop. He grades a ton. JT, group submissions. Mike O, group submissions. All these guys with the group submissions, they can speak to PSA and some of the stuff they're experiencing. Carlos, when he gets Brad on from Canada, can speak to it because I hate throwing compliments on the fire that is Carlos because Lord knows he just takes them to heart and won't chime in, but when he asks something, it's not just it's eloquent. It's not just some random backwoods hillbilly jargon that I mean, folks out in New Jersey in a specific card shop or Team Schmedium, they're low, the lowest of the rung vernacular is spoken. Carlos can ask, and it's in a way where it's intelligent. You've got a lot of these guys that are just going through the motions. They'll watch something on said subject, basically sort of twist and turn the whatever the verbiage is of a said question and get the same answer. But this is to speak of Bobby's earlier point, and you're you're speaking of it too, Steve, when we're a smidge late, it's to build their brand. And that's the dumbest shit in the world. I I don't get it. And we've had this discussion sometimes and danced on the table and danced on the floor. But a lot of these people that are out in the hobby world that you see constantly posting here, there, everywhere, it's not because of their love of the hobby. It's because they want to have their face constantly out there being known for being in the hobby so that they can get put on that Mount Rushmore of assholes in the hobby. And again, there's going to be more than 4. The Team Schmedium's like 10 itself, so we're going to have to go to like the Swiss Alps or something, carve some stuff in there. I mean, or the Rockies. I mean, that's going to be. You've got that from what, Colorado all the way up to Alaska, so that's a lengthy period of real estate. But when you constantly, like Ty had mentioned, the Fanatics thing, we're not going to get too much into it ever until like that day comes when Fanatics says, "Hey, here's some of the stuff we got going on. Here's some of our thoughts. Here's some of what we are going to present." When you have people like 5 minutes after the interview say, "You've got people crying about Topps is dying," how the fuck do you know? I could say I've got cancer. You're not planning my funeral. I mean, a lot of people would, but you're not planning it. Wait. That's the first domino. You don't need to have a fucking thought and opinion, and I need to go on a 10-minute diatribe, and like I'm doing now, and have a set video. This is my thought on Fanatics. Who fucking cares? Fanatics doesn't even know what they're doing. They've got probably a blueprint. They've probably got, again, bullet points or whatever that they want to hit or they have in mind. But who fucking cares? It's 4 years away, 5 years away.
Well, and on the flip side, Dave, it's one of those in which I always state this, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. At the end of the day, opinions are good. Nobody is saying that opinions are bad. That's, because everybody is entitled to them. And, it's all about how you present them. If you just sit there and say a blanket statement, but then you don't provide any explanation, it becomes what narrative are you trying to spin? What's the point of stating X when you're not providing any additional information related as to why you may or may not feel the way that you do? As you allude to, Fanatics, we all have our opinions. We all have our thoughts related to Fanatics. A lot of them have been put out there. I think there's a lot of individuals that, have some interesting ideas as to what may or may not occur.
Mm-hmm.
I know I put in the group chat some time ago that I stumbled across an article that it's, there's a possibility that Fanatics will look into actually purchasing a card manufacturer. Mm-hmm. Well, that could be one of a few. Could be Topps, could be Panini, could be Upper Deck. Highly doubt they would purchase Leaf, but who knows at this point in the game, which would ultimately change a lot of people's opinions and thoughts of what it's going to look like when it does in fact happen. Mm-hmm. So there's good and bad aspects to bringing things to the forefront. I have to say that I can appreciate like Carlos's approach when something big breaks. Mm-hmm. He's always thought provoking. And yes, I'm stroking your ego, Carlos, I know. But, this is how I feel when it comes to you bringing things to the table. Yes, news breaks. You do take some time to think about things and, figure out exactly how you want to approach the subject. but you bring things to the table that really forces people to think outside the norm, though, too. Others, they just come to the table and it's like, oh, this is crap. This is gonna, this is horrible. And, that's really the extent of the conversation of how bad it is. You, however, can argue multiple points,
Mhm.
which, is ultimately what needs to occur because that's what spawns conversation. Because you can bring something to the table that maybe somebody hasn't thought about, which is why, when you post those videos, although I have like probably 20 or so in my watch later list to finally get caught up, I can appreciate because, like I said, you bring things to the table that others don't think about. They're thought provoking. They make you think, and you dangle enough out there to make it an interesting watch,
Mhm.
which I 100% can appreciate. Of course, you would agree with me, Carlos, since I'm talking about you. Uh, but going back to the same aspect, you have others who just beat the same topic to death. You posted a video, somebody posted a video about fanatics. We talk about it on a live stream. There's another topic. Another, and then you have another, and then you have another, and then you have another, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, time out. At what point, like you say, is it too much?
And again,
Because let's be realistic, hobby topics are getting a little bit more limited.
yeah.
Okay, maybe not limited. Maybe they're not as frequent as what they once were. Uh, so you keep rehashing the same topic.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that we can't rehash the topic in different podcasts and things along those lines. I'm not because some of those may come up in conversation. And of course, you can talk about them. That's the whole point of leveraging, what the individuals within the chat want to talk about. So if they bring up fanatics, you kind of touch on fanatics, but you don't want to beat the dead horse because right now, the only thing that's been new is there's a good possibility they could buy a card manufacturer. Okay, that's the only news that we know. But outside of that, we still know nothing.
Yeah.
PSA rate increases, PSA closing down. It's like, okay, all of these things keep coming up and they're like the basis of a conversation consistently.
Mhm.
And why? And Bobby nailed it on the head. Hobby topics are becoming redundant. And that's true.
Mhm.
So in those situations, it's not it's not that we need to find something that's quote unquote fresh and new, but you need to look for other opportunities to, kind of change the narrative to a degree. Look for other avenues, other spins. Like Carlos says, add new angles, twists, and things along those lines, which actually keep the conversations fresh.
Mhm.
Which is, what we try and do. We know Carlos tries to do it consistently, which he's been doing as of late with a lot of his guests. If you can hear me or not. Uh, it's bringing other people to the conversation,
Mhm.
taking a chance and,
taking a chance, like ABBA. Steve is usually it's
difficulties.
usually me vapor locking up with the internet.
Yeah. I paid good money for this crap too.
And he's gone. But
Sorry about that. I don't know what the heck was going on. I don't know what the do what?
He said take a chance, so I used the ABBA reference, and then that was it. That was curtains.
Yeah, that was weird. It's because usually I don't have an issue sitting out there on the back patio, but for whatever reason, I don't know what the last thing anybody heard or whatnot. So, but
I think Carlos taking that chance to actually do something that's outside the box, thought wise, instead of what's your personal opinion on this, instead of don't look at it from your opinion, look at it from collector's angle, a business angle. Who knows about all the other angles? When you jump in with your emotions, usually whatever you're thinking is not going to be something useful. That's usually like my rants. They're not useful because I'm rambling about my emotions about shit. So, but you have a lot of people out there that just want to. I want to put out a video. My thoughts matter on this. Well, if like Bobby said, if your Jeopardy category is the Department of Redundancy department, it's the same stuff over and over again. I mean, you can listen to Tim McGraw and Nelly if you want that. So at some point in time, if you're going to bring your plate to the table, or you're going to bring a dish to the potluck, and 3 people have mac and cheese, you better not have mac and cheese. You better have something useful and interesting. What's going on, Joe?
Dave and his food references. So, Vinny, you've been awful quiet.
No.
Oh, that's way. Yes, I know I'm not on video. I wonder why that is. That's because Dave is monopolizing the conversation as always. Oh, wait, I guess I did that too. Speak, Vinny. Speak. That was an invitation for you to speak.
That was called a segue.
Are you talking to me or Ghost Riding in Galaxy?
Last I checked, your name is Vinny, and the dogs' names are the dogs' names.
Yeah, it was the command. I don't do well with that. The better half's not here.
That wasn't a command. That was giving you an opportunity to say something.
I got notes.
Do I need to put you in timeout? I need
Just
to put you in
me
timeout.
out there. It'll be like putting me in timeout. Anyhow, so I was watching something interesting today, fellas and ladies and gentlemen and everybody. So I heard somebody said the market wants what it wants. Who is the market? Do we delineate between investor and dealers? Or, excuse me, investors and collectors? Investors are creating the comps. We're outspending the collectors. True collectors don't care about grades. Investors is like a game of hot potato. These were some of the comments made. I watched a video from Neo. And what I found interesting is, yeah, you create the comps, but if the collectors are buying all this secondary stuff, not your PSA 10s and what have you, you're just selling to a market that's within a market within itself, and you sell the same card over and over into this little niche. People come, people go.
Hmm.
So you have to rely on the fact that new guy, gal, person wants said card. And then that card gets recycled to that person. Then they move it through this big. When does that card ever finally reach its destination? Where does it ever stay put? Or are all these cards, the 7 cards and 7 people that we're allowed to collect, of course, ever reach their last train station, if you will? So I thought some of that was very interesting. The hot potato comment, he was spot on.
Yeah.
Because if you have a collection of the same people, it's like the Sam Darnold thing. I I pray he does well, but it's like we've gone full circle in that base stuff, collect the goats. Let's go back to collecting the base stuff. Let's see what the ceiling is. Let's see what the basement is. Let's see where the sub basement, the dip of the dip, and the doo wah diddy diddy da. I don't know anymore. I am so confused by all that jargon and stuff. If that's content, we already know all this stuff. It's nothing we haven't heard since 1996. I was there. I experienced it. There was a crash and then it came back and we watched things change completely. It's like the end of the Matrix. This has occurred like 27 times in the history. There's always been a chosen one. And at the end, they shove them all back in and it happens all again. It's one big deja vu. So when do you finally break the Matrix and when are we going to be out of this craziness? Probably never, because it's cyclical. But when they talk about all these different things with the markets, there's a market for us collectors. There's always going to be a market. And we're going to take what we want and we're fine with it. But we're not going to pay top dollar for a 10 where a 9 will do and it's a numbered card to 25.
Hmm.
I don't need the 10. I got a numbered card to 25 today for $7. Okay. Of a particular hockey player that I don't usually talk about.
Yeah.
And that said player, I have a card down to 25. Do I need to get it graded? No. Would I probably make a ton of money one day when that said player goes into the Hall of Fame, which he has a absolute good shot at doing? Probably. But do I think about that now? No. I just grab it and go. You know, you listen to, if you want to talk about, I don't know who brought it up, goats and, was it Bobby? Goats and OGs.
Yeah.
You look at the guys like Nolan, who's been doing this as far back as I've watched to 2011, 13. He took a hiatus for a while. He's been doing this all these years. It's the same thing. But you see different people in that collection. You see a PC, you delineate between the PC and the cards that's your inventory. Aha, funny hit 2 weeks ago. Anyhow, but it's this is nothing new.
No.
He talked about COMC 6 years ago. That's when I first heard about COMC. I'm like, okay, Burbank, all this stuff. I knew about Burbank before somebody made it popular. It's nothing new, guys, gals, people. It's nothing new. The information's out there. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to listening to the ramblings of whoever. Go out there and find it. come here.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost a thing. Now I will shut up now because I just pulled a Dave. But I thought that interesting today when I saw that video that was suggested for me, and I
Oh,
was taking a moment. And but the one thing I'll disagree is they said that they call them the evil flippers. Hey, what you do is your business. That's fine and dandy. There's been card flippers since back in the day.
day one.
It's always been there, and it'll always be there. Not evil, they're part of the hobby. The
Mhm.
problem is like you said, they all want to be center stage.
Yeah.
It's We're all just rolling through this, and like Ed said it before in that video that you were on, what, 3-4 weeks ago. We're all equal here. There's no goats. Dave's the goat. No, Ed's the goat. No, it's freaking Dave and it's Ed and it's Steve and it's me and it's whoever. We're just a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Let it go. I
Yeah,
have no brand.
yeah, there's
I
no
don't care.
hierarchy. There's no hierarchy of collectors. It's
No,
if you think that, you're the problem. That's
it's
then you are the cancer.
you're driving a wedge between collectors, investors. We should all coexist in a little biome that is the hobby. But when you want to start smashing all that apart and bringing the brand and all that into it, and no one's on the equal footing ground, just rolling through the hobby, doing your thing, we're going to get all this that we get now. Do your thing. Ain't going to ever be mad or tell somebody don't go do your thing. But sometimes you got to shut up about it, maybe, because it is what it is, as they say. Maybe I'm done now. Go ahead, Dave.
It and that's where circling back. Finally, at least that clown you sent the video of. Go watch this. It is that you see. Cancelleri has this card. Then Sasha T has it. Then Home Ec Clothes picks it up, only to sell it to Card Collector 2 to Muttonhead out in California with his parents, to somebody else, to some other entity. All these people are Gary Vee gets it in there too, and everybody's got this card. At some point, you hope, and God, I hope some of these people have a brain that are following them. You think every one of these guys that's had this card has said it's such a great card. It's a card they've loved or dreamt of. They've yearned for. They've chased after. But why have 10 of them given it up? If something is that important to you, if something is that, and again, I get where a lot of it could be the chase, just the chase to get it, and then okay, I need something new. I get that factors into some of these folks. That's why I don't
Absolutely.
work with them. That's why they're pushed in the corner in the burn pile. Because that it makes no sense to me if you're just constantly wanting prestige, the notoriety of getting something, only to move it less than a month later. It's like I've chased this card for 15, 20 years. I've got it. Here comes the Podunk Arkansas card show. Human Stinkline's there. He's offering me one of his hoodies and a New Jersey card shop hoodie. Well, there's a trade. You opine for something or opine for something for 20 years and you trade it for minimalist stuff. You trade it for a hollow Luca. That's what it means to you, or a Trey Young, fuck, I don't know, multicolored prismatic dimple card. I don't know. Number to 299, PSA 3. That's what you trade it for stuff like that where it's like, I know not everybody's mindset will be different. But I feel with a lot of those guys, and you know it's damn true, everybody in here watching now or later, and this is true too, Bobby. It again, if you can make something where you've got, let's say with one of your knickknacks, you bought two of something, two Toronto Maple Leafs, something or another from like the 50s. You bought them back in like the early 90s for $5 each at a flea market or whatnot. Now those things are like $8,000 each. Well, you've got two of them to acquire some of the stuff you want that you didn't have a chance back then to get. Stuff you just haven't seen along your collecting journey that has recently popped up. You'll probably, and if you've got a buyer for one of those, you'll sell one more than likely because that will help offset costs of your stuff. You're not going to go out there and make 15 videos in a week about this stuff. These other clown shoe assholes will because they need to be in the spotlight. The spotlight's this big. The circle of assholes is this big. So they're all doing the ludicrous. They're southern hospitalitying you, dropping bows on each other, even though they're appreciating each other in the videos, but they want to have the next video. The fanciest screenshot or the picture, the dumbest title, throw in all the team schmediums and the human stink lines and home ec clothes, all of them in a picture. Because that's going to draw the people in. It's flashy. It's got some color there. They see the people wearing the dunce caps. They're gonna go to it. You're gonna get Bobby. You're gonna buy that knickknack or whatnot. Maybe it's a little a nesting doll or something. You're gonna buy that because that's cool to you. And it's like, I like Toronto. I'll put that in my collection. There's two of them. I will get that. And that's the thing. But you're not going to sit and put. Would it be cool if you did like one video and be like, okay, here's something I did. I bought something not for the intent of reselling it down the road. I bought a few things that are the same thing. Maybe it was a Rocket Richard, I don't know, a headband or something like what would be a stadium giveaway then, but was just sort of a giveaway at a five and dime store, and you got a few of them, and they greatly increased. Do a video like that where it's like patience pays off instead of I need to flip it immediately for $100 more. That's what you see with these guys all the time. It's I need to show my card show haul each day. And it's basically the same thing they're picking up. I like seeing that from like a Brad, a Joey, a Michael Phillips. Folks, when they go to the shows, they're not sitting there and trying to maneuver into plays. Maybe one of them sells something there that they've got specifically, they know they can move to get something they want, but it's going to be specific. It's not, well, here's a Jordan sticker PSA 5. Okay, nice card. Yeah. They get rid of it. 2 months later, you see him at a show vlog from Dallas. Well, I wanted to get it back, but I wanted a 7. Why? The pop report's 20 less than the 5? There again, they want to be the prestige of buying the grade instead of being the collector and be like, okay, I'm super happy with this card because it's on the list. But they need to be out there, video wise, Instagram wise, TikTok, all their stuff at the end of the show wise, because that's what they want. They need that notoriety. They need to be placed in that top 10 of the list of the hobby hierarchy, which they aren't. They're the cancers of the hobby. But that's what they want. Every opinion that they have needs to be out there so their legion of mindless cum bucket drool bags follows them. Money. I live with mom and dad. I don't have a job. Please support me as I go to my card shows. I've been to 50 card shows this year. Do you have a fucking job? Because I can barely go to one. So if you're going to 50, you ain't fucking doing anything for this world except taking a breath. So those are the people that need to stop, because they're not bringing anything to the table. There might be a snippet here, a tidbit here, a wisp of semi-intellectual knowledge over here, but it's quickly squashed, like Wile E. Coyote in a boulder, with stupid statements. And it's like Mike Tyson on a speed bag in the 80s. That's how fast their stupidity comes coming out of their mouth. Rapid, nonstop nonsense. Now, people may say that about me. I digress. But at least I'm going to give you an opinion that isn't canned, has some decent verbiage behind it, and I'm not placating a crowd or trying to play to a crowd of people, of my human centipede of legion of mouth breathers. So, again, if you've got an opinion, that's fine. We always state your opinion, but if it's, this is bad, well, why is it bad? I don't like it. Okay, why don't you like it? It's stupid. No, that's 3 strikes. You're stupid. Fuck you. So, if you have an opinion, bring something with it. Not so-and-so said this or such and such demonstrated that. Fucking actually have a backbone and a spine and some convictions within your soul. Carlos. There's Carlos.
It is.
Welcome.
Thank you, Vinny. If any of you had human centipede on the bingo card, I was missing something. I think unfortunately my free spot doesn't cover it, so I don't quite have the bingo yet. They've covered a lot of the other usual ones though. There's still hope. There's still a chance. If nobody else got bingo in the human centipede, then I got this. Yeah, I was inspired by Vinny's soliloquy on Neo, but he missed out on the opportunity when he got the Matrix reference in to bring the Neo piece back and take it full circle. Vinny, total miss, total drop.
I was talking too much.
That was your shot, buddy. You were there. You were ready to go. It's like he started with Neo and then he went Matrix. I'm like, do it, Vinny. Stick the landing, Vinny. Stick the landing.
And to me, I got no problem with the guy. I was just observing the video. And that's the beauty thing, the beautiful thing about this. I'm sure there's myriads of people critiquing us weekly that we do not know of.
Well, I usually subscribe to the Amish Dave Archer Review Weekly. Yeah, it's a newsletter just critiquing Dave. Yeah, doesn't have any subscribers, but like exists. Everything on the internet exists, Vinny.
This is true.
As soon as you think it comes into being. That's like the first rule of the internet. As soon as you thought of it, now it exists. You just have to go find it.
That's been said several times in those videos. If you visualize it and you put it on some poster board, it'll become into the universe, or as they say, possible multiverse.
Oh, there is a multiverse. Oh, there's a multiverse where Dave is like literally sports card investor. He starts off every episode from Lake Superior. Hello, but nobody can hear him. His just voice trails off into the distance. The multiverse is vast, my friend. Very vast. You lose.
I was waiting for something to come out of his mouth.
Well, Eric always complains about everything, and the thing is, Steve, and you should get with Eric as fellow oracles. Eric's the baseball oracle. He gets fed up when I put all the hockey in. But Eric, just for you, I promise the next 2 posts on Instagram are going to be baseball, strictly for you. Just because I know that's what you want.
And my next post on Instagram will not be hockey. Just go ahead and throw that out there. Just
I understand. I understand. Like, it's been a lot lately, Steve. I was frankly getting sick of hockey in your feed. Like, I was disgusted. It was enough.
I know it's horrible.
I've been to Eric's been trying to preach to us this whole time. Hockey sucks. It's garbage. It's trash. Why do you think I'm wearing a baseball jersey? Who the hell cares about hockey? That's still a thing?
Well, because we're going into the postseason. Hockey's about to start.
That's regular season. Who cares? you got postseason in other sports. Come on, man. I've even heard of this football thing. It's a newfangled thing. I think somebody invented it recently. Like, it seems decent. It's all right.
So are we talking football or are we talking football?
Yes.
Which one?
Yes.
So we know how Eric feels about you.
That's nice.
All I see is love. It's all love all the time. Much, as Steve would say, much love.
Even when we hate each other, it's still much love.
Oh, it's just as good for me. It works either way. Haven't I said already? The hate fuels me. It's like, dude, you're just increasing my power. Thanks.
He has no emotion.
Appreciate you, bro.
But yet he still subjects himself to the craziness that exists on Friday and Tuesday night. He purposely subjects himself to this.
Oh, I haven't been able to get. I want YouTube analytics to analyze it for me. I want the breakdown. I want to know how many people hate watch me. I just need to know how many people specifically. I hate that asshole. I hate him so much, and I'm like, yes, I want to know what percentage specifically hate watch me. I try to cater to that demographic as much as I can.
No, nobody said Mbappe. Go stop, Ed.
I appreciate that he put the accent in there, though. That's a little extra. He went the extra mile on that one. That's all right.
Who's this guy? I don't know who that is.
He's a guy that you could have bought boxes of about 5 or 6 years ago because they were sitting at the show. We had a soccer dealer who had cases of that, like that World Cup product that took off when soccer went off. Like, you could have bought it for a song. So it's like, okay, if you say so. But now apparently it matters, I guess. This is what I hear.
Yeah, it's interesting how some of the other soccer players just came out of the middle of nowhere. Whether it be, champion, whatever the heck it is, Champions League. I know you have World Cup, and then you have what's the other one that they had that's the big one?
Bundesliga.
Well, it got complicated for me because my buddy is a big soccer guy, but he started explaining it to me, and it was like leagues on leagues and like levels of leagues, and I'm just like, look, man, all you have to do is just professional league. At a certain point, it's like, okay, so this is the professional league of this country, this is the professional league of this country, this is the professional league of this country, and then you've got your cup teams, and I'm like, all right, if you have to draw a chart for me, that is way too complicated. And I like complicated stuff, but it's like, you have now reached my limit. We're done. It's over.
Well, that and what? Some teams can go be relegated to like a different league, and some other teams can come up to that. I'm like, hold on a minute.
The relegation, I'm almost good with because I would love that as a punishment. It's like, can we just condemn the Detroit Lions to be relegated to the CFL? Whoever the Grey Cup champion is, take their spot every year. It's like, just go for it. Why not? I like it. Let's go for it.
I like it, but at the same time, I'm like, who's in the lower league? That can't be anybody of use then. This has to be like the people that have like one leg and have like a walker out there or something. Like, who?
The relegation is just because you just it's just being at the bottom section of the main one. So so what happens is you could just have a bad run of like, the equivalent of draft picks, right? Like, let's say your management's incompetent and you drop down for a year, and you basically miss that cutoff line. But one of the other teams in that one has been doing very well. They've actually been picking up some good young players that are now maturing. So all of a sudden they're at the top of that, so they get a shot. And sometimes that's why I say the relegation part is probably the part I least object to, just because it gives. There have been teams that started off, nobody ever heard of them. They had no fan base ever. Through good management, good dealings, and building up a team, they got to a point where they got to the best of that league, advanced forward, got to the best of that league, advanced forward, and then actually became relevant. They woke up one day and actually got to the big league and competed. You have to respect that because you're basically starting from scratch. It's not an easy road. You're taking the scenic route to getting there. It's not just you didn't wake up one morning at the top of the game. You had to earn your way there.
And I think several years ago now, Hotspur, because I've got a buddy that's a big Tottenham fan, and this was like years ago, but they were the also rans, and they finally, I think, made it up. And 3-4 years ago, I think they won the whole shebang. I don't know if it's a Champions League or what, but I was like, good on you, because I know you love them forever. But that's the only reason I knew them, because he'd ramble about them, and I'm just like, congrats.
But think of the loyal fans, though, that the ones that stuck it out with you when you were in the lower tiers and you worked your way up, and it would be like like I joked about it, but it would be like one of the teams in the Canadian Football League getting to the NFL. We joke about it, but it's like, no, drop the Lions down there, and then all of a sudden the Lions are like, third place in the CFL, and this other team, what if they made the playoffs? What if they won a couple of rounds? It's like, that's amazing, great job by you. Why is it the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? What the hell is this idiocy? Well, it can happen. It's a long shot, but it can happen.
Yeah, soccer fans are crazy, man. Jeez.
That was the only reason why, though, I always push back on the whole narrative about how popular. It's like, dude, I'm not doubting it's popular. Like, I like to argue everything, and I will never argue that soccer is not popular. I will never argue that the fan base is not passionate, because that's a fool's errand. Both those things are true. I just know they didn't care about cards until a couple of years ago, because they never did.
No.
That's just a fact. They didn't care. So the idea that they suddenly care is very suspicious to me, because they didn't suddenly become more passionate. They didn't suddenly manufacture fans out of those fans were there. They just weren't interested.
Leave it to the influencers, though, to start talking about it, though. It's and it's no different. We saw the influx of comic cards, in Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Have always been a thing. Yeah. I mean, it's always been a thing. They've got their devout collector base, just like, any of the other major sports. But all it takes is enough people to start talking about it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, they had cards? What? They had stickers? Yeah. Huh? What? Yes. And all of a sudden it's like everybody comes into the mix, which of course is what drives prices up. And let's be realistic. People took advantage of those situations in those certain scenarios, and people made out like a bandit in a lot of cases. And they're still making out like a bandit in a lot of cases. So, but what's going to be next? I know we always joke about it. Is it going to be bowling cards? And there are some that are out there.
Bowling.
There are some.
Come on.
What was it was made by, I'm pretty sure it was not Panini. It wasn't Panini yet, but I'm pretty sure Donruss made a product that had, like, and I don't want to call them obscure individuals, but there were like bowling people, there were some golf people, there were some soccer people, but for the life of me, I can't think of what the stinking product is.
There's also another one. I know for a fact there was a professional bowlers association. There is a set. It does. There's like a Pete Weber rookie.
The PBA.
Yeah, it does. There is one that does exist. Like, that is a real thing. Now, mind you, it's like 1990, so it's like on the perfect 1990 junk wax era, card stock and everything.
Sure, it wasn't Pro Set.
Well, dare we live such dreams. I showed everyone the one Pro Set card I will acknowledge. That's it. I was like, this is so stupid. Yeah, I'll get one. I need a representative copy of this idiocy.
but it was, and it was all inclusive. It wasn't just golf and soccer and, bowling. I mean, there were some football people, there were some baseball, hockey, it was all inclusive.
Mhm.
But for the life of me, I can't think of what it's called because I think I had
It
like
was
a Achievers jersey card or something out of that
Okay.
it
or
was
something.
an 08 product because I know Michael Wilkie had sent me in some packages. Like, I know you collect pretty much everything, so I'm going to send you this and hope that it has a place in your collection. It was like a jockey, some Julia something. But I'm like, yeah, it's something different. I mean, it's not like I'm going to go out and buy every jockey card there is, but yeah, there's just a hodgepodge of, if you were tops in like a sport or some sort of competition, you were in there. I'm waiting for the curling cards, really.
Ooh, now you're talking. Now you're talking that could sweep the nation. The people do love them some Scott Tournament of Hearts, man. Like, phew, get ready for it. It's gonna be
We
amazing.
we get the Schuster, the John Schuster rink is in Eveleth, so that's an hour away, and that's a gold medal winner. So
Here's the thing: I like making fun of it, but the truth is, people do watch. Like
oh,
it's
I
like they do. Like they actually get pretty good ratings, all things considered, because when they do that Scottish Tournament Hard on TSN, they draw well. Like people watch it. I'm just sitting there like, you're watching less interesting bowling on ice. Like it's got all the. I was a bowler. I enjoy bowling. I can actually watch bowl because I watch you on YouTube. You can actually see PBA has their coverage. They'll actually put matches on YouTube, and I don't know when it happened, but somebody got bonked in the head and decided to have production value. They put like video packages up and stuff. I'm like, okay, this isn't half. And they would have the crowd, and the crowd was into it. I was like, all right then.
must have been free beer.
I listen. This is work for darts, Dave. Do not question the power of a place with a lot of drinking on a relatively obscure thing. They will cheer a man throw a dart, and they will cheer another man screaming 180, and they get pumped, man, pumped.
That's
Or
that's the
Uzi-
set, Dave.
Force Legends, nice. Okay.
the Ooze and Oz poker tournament. Oh,
Well, that was
Ooh,
always I always liked the idea. There was the 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 thing when poker was at its hottest, it did very well. But it's one of those things where like the only thing you could really cheer was when everybody went all in, because that's the moment where you actually see the cards. Because otherwise, you're like, so what do they actually have? Because imagine being live. If you're watching it on TV or something, like, okay, you get to see the whole cards. You know what's going on. You actually know the situation. Oh, this is an audacious bluff. You know this. But if you're there, you're like, he's putting the chips in. I don't know whether what he has is good or not. This is either a crazy bluff or he actually has the cards, but I don't know.
yeah, that who was it? Norman Chad used to do the commentary on that. And I love him.
Yes.
He's got a good sense of humor. So I I enjoyed listening to him, but yeah, at the same time, it's just like, how many times can I see like somebody on eighth king and then like something on the river and the whatever? It's like yeah, whatever.
Well, they're finding that right now because it's funny because Ed mentions Phil Hellmuth, and
Yep.
Phil Hellmuth was good for TV just because he was a character and he would flip out a bunch of stuff, like, so it made it, he was a caricature of a poker player basically, so he was that way. He was basically the John McEnroe. His job is just to flip out and lose his mind. But the thing is, he went in on they've got streaming poker. They've got a streaming poker site that's like Netflix of poker, basically. The thing is, it's really hard to sell somebody on paying a monthly fee to watch tournament poker and like
Yeah.
archive tournament poker. And here's the thing. I watched a ton of that stuff. I even have some World Poker Tour DVD sets because I actually like watching it. But I also was watching it predominantly for understanding how some of these better players were doing what they were doing because I was playing poker all the time.
Mhm.
So it's as much for film study as anything. The entertainment value is very limited. The game is simple enough. It's not like it's a complicated game to figure out. It's still cards. The dealer's going to put down the cards. That's all that's going on here.
Yeah, it's when you had the World Poker Tour, what, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when it was just absolutely on fire.
It was, yeah.
I mean, you watched ESPN, Fox Sports, and that up here had it, had different iterations of it. I mean, it's just like everywhere you went, and then go down to the cities for like a football game. My brother would be like, "Well, it's Friday night. You guys can figure whatever, go to the mall or whatever. I'm going to go to poker." I'm like, okay. So I mean, that was like a bowling league, a dart league.
Mhm.
I mean, there's poker at, and it wasn't just there's a casino down there, but it was at like a bingo hall or whatever, a little convention catering area. So I don't hear as much about them anymore. I know it's still popular, but I know it's the investment arrow's gone down on them over the last few years. But
Well, the regulation changes on online poker hurt them
yeah,
because part of the appeal. So and I think Steve put in there the Chris Moneymaker, so he put the name in there. But part of what made the Chris Moneymaker thing work, like really the short version and what popularized poker, is that this guy got in a satellite on Poker Stars, got his way in, and as soon as he was able, he became a millionaire, winning the World Series of Poker. But he got in on a relatively small satellite. So you got to imagine, you got all these, the poker boom is these people going, oh, wait a minute, if this douchebag can get in there and win $1 million, and he's an okay poker player. Like he tried to go pro after that. He's fine. Like he's not a great player, but he's okay. But what always happens? He was the first, so he got to be at the front line of that. And then those stakes kept getting bigger. The amount of people at the World Series of Poker kept getting bigger to the point you got to $10 million first prize. It was $1 million first prize, was already like huge, but now you can win 10 million, and I think it peaked out like at 12 or 14 million for first prize, something like that. Imagine that's life changing. Like that's all you have to do is get lucky one time for a couple of days, just run hot, get in there, and you're facing some professionals who are sitting there like, I know exactly what I'm doing. You are literally just throwing the chips in and going like, to hell with it. But you can become a multi-millionaire. As soon as you get to that final table at that stage, everybody at the final table is a millionaire. Everybody who got to the final table won at least $1 million once it was at its apex. Imagine
In the
that.
money.
Yeah, just getting there. At that point, you could throw your chips in and not care what happens because you already made $1 million.
yeah,
It's just how much more would you like to make?
yeah. And again, it was fun to watch initially because it's like, man, this is something different.
Yeah.
I like playing cards. You play blackjack on. I remember in high school, go over to buddy's house after basketball games on Friday, play either poker or blackjack for 3-4 hours. So it's like, okay, it's on TV now. That's fun. But yeah, after a while, it's like, okay. Sort of like with people in wrestling, if they're like, I don't like it that much. Initially, it's okay, that's fun to watch, but I don't know. After a month, 2 months, I don't know, we've got enough.
Yeah,
they were able to sustain, I think, a lot longer than at their apex than what I thought they'd be able to do, because it was just like, man, you're still pumping out, and there's still like at the end you have the big wad of cash, the briefcase, and everything stacked up to a grandiose, and the bracelet and all this stuff. It's like it again. They do a good job for TV, but it's like at the same time, if you were to watch it without interruption, that would be painful. When it's condensed down and like you're sitting there and like, okay, I don't need to see every hand. Go tape delay it out or whatever. But that again, not before the internet was popular, but at the same time, before social media and everything was published within 5 seconds of it happening.
Yeah.
Now you have to have it all live.
Well, you can do live to tape, and that because you got to turn it around quickly, because that's the key is you got to basically record it for real, but get it recorded almost in real time and get it straight out. But when you leverage the personalities, it helped a lot, because obviously then people could have their villains, they could have their favorites and do all that. Because I remember there being fantasy poker. That was a thing where people would be, because some of the best players would always get there, so you could actually run a fantasy type thing with it. But it also helped that it was like a game show. because you would have the random journeyman or the random everyman who happened to have a good run, who would get to the final table and maybe outlast some of the pros. And the fact that it was so accessible helped. Once they changed the rules a little bit and only certain states could do it, it changed it so that, yeah, people would still play. People are still interested. People still play poker now. They can go to poker rooms around the country. There's still plenty of that. There's even live poker available. The Bike Casino out in, I think, LA does a stream every week. I haven't watched it in a long time, but they actually go. It's very straightforward, but people watch it. But it's one of those things where you got to be really into it now because it's not the same. It's not like, okay, go to the online poker room. Oh, you can win a seat at the World Poker Tour event or the World Series of Poker event. Take your shot. And if you go to some of the, because they used to have the one on the Caribbean cruise, you'd be on a cruise, you get a cruise out of it. You get at least at the very minimum, you get to hang out on the cruise. If you do well, maybe you win some money. There's a free trip. That's aspirational. It gives some folks something to shoot for, and it makes it interesting for them. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, this person did it, so can I. Maybe I got a shot.
Just like the old billiards when Janet Lee would be there. Why a couple Philippine guys were.
Antonio Bustamante?
Him, and there's another one I thought too. I want to say Efren Reyes, maybe.
That's not, yes, Efren Reyes. Yeah, Efren Reyes was one of the, and he was one of the old timers because he was a hustler. He was a hustler who would play some professional tournaments, but he's a hustler.
His trick shots are beyond amazing. But that was the stuff that like early ESPN would have, like in the poker run too, where you have basketball, your normal stuff, quote unquote. But you want to have something in there, the monster trucks, the tractor pulls, stuff of that nature, because you know what? It's something different. Just break up the as we've said, collecting wise too, break up the monotony once in a while. Just to, oh, what's this?
But we needed some Magic the Gathering on ESPN too, Steve. That's what we need. We need to go back to the old school. They had that, so we got to bring it back.
Well, they started showing disc golf.
Nice.
From time to time, which I play on occasion. It's good exercise.
Sure.
You know, I'm by far nowhere near pro status by any stretch of the imagination, but it's great exercise, and I enjoy it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there were a few times in which they would show like the paintball world championships. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see how like the sports networks, and I'm going to leave that as a generic term instead of, calling out ESPN specific, of going through some of, and I don't even want to call them obscure sports because disc golf has been around for quite some time. Paintball has been around for quite some time. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they're trying to bring additional options to the viewing public to, expand what people, may find enjoyable or may not. I'm waiting for ESPN 8 The Ocho to come around and actually become a thing.
I was about to say the alternative is always the Ocho.
Yep. Obscure Sports Quarterly, waiting for that to, actually become a thing.
Well, I would think if you were going to do it, like jokes aside, I think if you were going to do it, you would do it on ESPN Plus because they've got the streaming one. That would make be a spot where you could definitely throw you could literally throw stuff at the wall just to see what's stuck. Oh, who's streaming what? Oh, okay. So this is streaming a little bit. Okay. You can give it a try.
Yeah. Oh, always something. I know we joked about darts, but at some point, who's to say that that's not going to become nationally televised?
Bro, in Europe it is. I've seen the cover. It's amazing. They got entrance music, man. Trust me,
wow.
I wasn't exaggerating when I said that crowd gets pumped, man. They get pumped. It's hilarious watching drunken Irish and Europeans just hanging in there. It's like, how much did you have to drink before or after it started? Boonk. Okay, then. Gotcha.
And if I'm not mistaken, and this has been a few months ago, I would channel surfing or whatnot, and I actually came across darts on a sports station, and I'm going, what, really? And I don't remember specifically what it was, but I will have to say the crowd was pretty crazy as it, as things kind of started ramping up, and it's like, but on the flip side, every every sport / hobby has its fan base. There you go, Yannick. Professional mini golf. I'm sure that'll become a thing too at some point.
It all ends with the windmill of doom.
Yep.
It's like, why does it say of doom? Listen, you got to add of doom. We're trying to market here. We're trying to sell the thing.
Well,
Yep.
go back to oddball stuff, and again, this is for the northern people. I remember watching log rolling and the guys shimmying up the log.
So you mean like the lumberjack games? Because they would have like the steel lumberjack games that made it onto TSN all the time.
It was on a lot. I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, here's a random, we don't have anything going on. You'd see that, and I'd be like, okay, Ashland, Wisconsin, I know where that's at. Or like Bemidji, Minnesota, I'm like, I know where that's at. And I mean, you can sit there and say, well, that's goofball stuff. You try doing that. Try log rolling with somebody else on there. That's not easy.
Yeah. But it's also you're trying to sell, to kind of Steve's point. It's fun to joke about, but at the end of the day, they're looking for another audience, because if you're into the major professional sports, it's not like they're new. There's nothing new they can, like, look, if you're interested, you're interested. If you're not interested, you're not going to be, there's nothing new we can offer you. It's like, we tried the glow puck. All right, we're done. We're out of ideas. Like, it is what it is. But there are folks that really aren't like sports folks, but they're into the entertainment aspects. Like, darts isn't really it's a skill. It's a game. Yeah. It's something you can practice and get really good at. But I can take anybody off the street, hand them some darts, put it in front of a dartboard, and they can give it a go. They're not going to be good at it necessarily.
Yeah.
But it's something they can try. It's something they can aspire to. It's an accessible, game. So like when you see these guys and you see the crowd freaking out for them, and some of them have signs for these people because some of them have characters and it's written on the back of their shirts. So it's like when they go through the whole presentation, the pomp and circumstance, and the crowd reacts to it. Oh, this is kind of interesting. When I put it on the TV, my parents who don't watch any sports sat there and just like, and I was like, do you want me to change this? Like, no, leave it on for a bit. They got a kick out of it. But that's what you're looking for. You're trying to appeal to a different audience, because if you already are happy with the stuff you're watching, you want to watch the baseball game, the football, hockey, basketball, well, then you're good. You're full. You don't need any more.
Yeah, and some of those fans, like you mentioned, like some other things. It's not always basketball. It's like, man, Friday nights I go to the bar, we have our dart league.
Sure.
And my job is a lumberjack, or I cut up wood or whatever. It's like, I'd like to see that. Or you get people that are like, that's a thing, and they're watching it, like your parents, like, you're just mesmerized by something you never thought would be on your TV. Mm-hmm. So I wish I'd do more of that. But I think Twitch does a lot in that regard, where you don't have to worry about TV because they have a lot of the stuff covered. I don't know if they get contracts or whatnot, but I know like video game stuff, that is huge on Twitch.
Esports, yeah.
That's I mean, I watch more like the walkthroughs or the speed runs on YouTube.
Sure.
But I mean, I think if I started watching on Twitch, that'd be a rabbit hole I don't know if I'd get out of. Because you just sit there and you're like, man, especially if you watch something over and over, and now you know where this guy's coming from. Now you know where this lady's at.
Well, what's funny? We talked about a little bit earlier about the poker thing and how it's gotten very difficult. Like, it's not that interesting to have the poker and all that related to it. You know what does okay on Twitch? Poker streams.
Yep.
Because you've got people who will go on there and they're playing online poker. Now you're seeing it with a delay because they don't want to have A, an unfair advantage, or B, somebody is watching your stuff, and if somebody else is in the same tournament or whatever, you got to put a delay in there. But part of the participation of it is that you've got the person talking through whatever they're doing or whatever the case may be. But then the chat gets to debate and argue. Oh, that wasn't the right play. Oh, you should have put more in. It adds that interactive element. You get the backseat drive. Yep. And if the person's good at interacting with it, you just created something where now the person is interested. Now they're actually somewhat engaged in the content. It's like, you can be the norm chat. You can provide your own commentary. So now you're participating in it at the same time, and the person can respond to your participation.
And then if there's a good back and forth, guess what?
Yep.
friendships,
It's
relationships.
personality. It's personality driven. It's I enjoy watching this person do this and talk through it, and maybe I learned something, or maybe I just enjoy having it on and I'm listening to whatever.
Yeah, there's some background noise.
Sometimes, yeah. So it's viable. So the point is like it's proving out it is a viable model.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
everybody's like, well, why would anybody? At this point, I'm past the point of saying why would anybody watch whatever. There's an audience for almost anything you can think of,
Mhm.
and there are worse things for people to be watching. What's the point of criticizing that? Let them have their moment.
Anything political, that would be one thing that would be worth watching than anything we just spoke of.
It rots your brain, Dave. It rots your
Yeah.
brain.
I used to watch, and this was way back when there was no Fox Sports Net, so this is 30 plus years ago.
Mhm.
On Midwest Sports Channel, which was basically the Fox Sports Midwest at the time, out of Minneapolis, they had Sid Hartman, Dark Star, which that was his, I don't think his real name, but again, what name he used for the Star Tribune. Patrick Royce and someone else would have like a little, just a column show every morning. And it basically was what again, if anybody's in the Midwest listening, K-Fan, you have the Power Trip morning show, which Mike Morris, the old long snapper from the Vikings, initially hosted. The couple guys, now he's been gone for a number of years. And then Paul Allen, the radio voice for the Vikings, who you've heard on many calls, has 9 to noon.
Mm-hmm.
So you have them in like that gap way back then because none of those guys were around then. And you just sort of have like the round table, which ESPN has killed with like Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman and who's the other guy? The crusty old white guy.
Oh, Skip Bayless. That's on the Fets and Fox.
So wherever he's at now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like they've bludgeoned that with just like screaming at people to get your point across, and you don't have a point.
I think that I understand why some people are entertained by it, but you want to talk about like things that people watch. The problem is, it's not staged, but at the same time, it's played up. They'll do unironically what I like to do sometimes on the live stream, but I do it ironically. I do it with like a wink to the crowd. Because Skip Bayless will take a position that doesn't make any sense and then flip flop on it. And like he's perfectly aware that he's flip flopping it and then it creates the opening for that. But the thing is, you can do that too. Again, if you understand the audience, if you understand, what you're working with, it's the running joke on my live stream. Somebody will be like, hey, let's talk about Mike Trout. We know what's going to happen. But if we're just sitting there, if this is all off and you're just sitting there asking me, I'll lay out my case, but I don't really care that much. You like him, you like him. You want to buy his cards, you want to like. At the end of the day, I don't care. I have no stake in him, positive or negative. I can't short Mike Trout, but I can still make the points that I think. But do I amp it up and play it into it a little bit? Give it a little extra oomph for fun? Of course. It is. If we were just sitting here chatting, it's one thing, but when you're doing a live stream, and this is just honest, there is a show aspect to it too.
Yep.
Somebody is watching. You want it to be engaging. You don't, for the same reason when they're doing, imagine if they tried the darts, but like the crowd was all sitting on their hands and they're just quietly going on about. Part of what makes it fun, as silly as it is, part of what makes it fun is how excited the crowd gets about that adds to it. The announcer getting excited, screaming 180 and the crowd freaking out about it. It's like all the man did was hit 3 darts, triple 20, triple 20, triple 20. That's all that happened. It's not easy to do. Like they're very good at what they do, but in reality, all he did was throw 3 darts, and we're freaking out like he won the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the NBA championship all rolled into one. But it's fun.
No,
but it makes it fun.
Yeah, you that audience, and I've heard it so much when I've watched a couple college football games. It's like that's all the announcers are going to talk about. If it's like a blowout or whatnot, it's like it is so good to have fans back. You can feel the energy. Even if it's a blowout, you still want to watch the game because the fans are going batshit crazy. It's like just because there's something to do. I mean, you're not sitting there and like, well, maybe the library will deliver me books this week and I can read, but no, we're going to the game and having fun, and just doing something again. So yeah, the you factor in the audience, you factor in fans, you factor in just people, if they care or they don't care, if they're licked up or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just people that are enjoying themselves
Yes.
at whatever they're watching that you're watching.
As long as you, as long as the product, as long as the package is interesting, because the crowd, to your point, can enhance it. It can take something relatively mundane and make it interesting. It really can. You can, a good crowd can do a lot, because all of a sudden it's like, what? Why am I still watching this? Ah, well, I guess, and then and then they get into it. It's like, all right, you know what? What the heck? This is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It takes so little. That's the reason why I use that Twitch analogy. I was scanning quickly while we were talking. There's a poker guy on Twitch right now who's got 1,000 viewers. 1,000 viewers to watch a guy play online poker. And I recognize the name. He does this consistently. So it tells you that his audience enjoys tuning in to watch him. They know what days he's going to stream. They know how long he's going to stream for. Like, they understand what they're getting into, but they go and watch it anyway. Because they for them, it's like, okay, I can watch, I can participate, I can hang out in the chat a little bit, and I'm going to hang out for a while. Doesn't really matter what it is, as long as you get something out of it. Whatever. We collect pieces of cardboard. Who cares about that? Well, apparently we do. Like, any silly thing can be a thing if you really want it to be. If you get some fun out of it, why not?
Like, I'd even watch just to learn. I wouldn't say learn and master the game, because I don't care that much. But like the Dungeons and Dragons, to see something like that, just because with those strategy games, you want to see whatever card or whatever goes on. If that card gets laid down, what's that guy's move? It's not like, oh man, you laid that one down and you're excited. It's like, no, I want to know what his next or her next or their next move is, because that's a strategy game. It's not something like Chutes and Ladders, or something where you're rolling dice where it's just like, okay, the luck of the draw, basically. Chess, I can watch chess and visualize, okay, he did that, okay, now what's he going to do if he does this, and then he does that, this is going to happen. But you can't at that be like rowdy and excited, because that's more like the library crowd and the Japanese wrestling crowd, where they sort of sit on their hands all the time, and you can cheer at the end to be excited. But
could you imagine though? It's like, rook takes pawn. Yeah.
Beer flying everywhere.
It's like in the early game, it's like, why are you? It's like, dude, this game's already over, and it's like 5 moves later, it's done. It's like, is that what we're freaking out about? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Charging onto the field or charging onto the chessboard and like jumping around wildly as they.
And then you got somebody cosplaying as a rook.
Yeah.
Just as they hold him up and carry him off.
It's always possible.
I'm sorry. I'm sold, Dave. Like, I'm in on this bench just to get the reaction, just like the perplexed look on people's faces, like, what did I just watch? What is happening?
Yeah, you have like Kasparov doing that, and he's just like, he'll look into the camera with a sly smile and give it a wink or something, and just like, oh my god, what alternate universe are we in right now? That
we established the multiverse, my friend. There is an alternate universe in which chess is the most popular sport in the world.
Next, we'll be bobbing for apples. What other crazy things could we come up with, since we're on the realm of other activities?
Have that pin the tail for the donkey championships, or the what the you gotta have like the what, you swing around the bat or whatever and then try to walk.
Oh yeah.
How long can you walk before you fall down after like 5 quick spins and 6 beers within like 10 minutes?
Well, this is where we need ESPN to expand its streaming portfolio. Like, there's a wealth. They just need to mine this episode. We're providing gold right now, just like straight gold.
Oh, come on. The from Revenge of the Nerds, sitting there on the tricycle, 20 laps. After each lap, you have to drink a beer. See who's actually left standing.
I think this can all fall under a very simple category. Just generally beer games. It's like, what is it? It's like it's a series of events that all somehow relate, that all involve beer. It's like you just want people to do stupid shit and get drunk while it. Yes, that is exactly what I'm selling you on. It's called ratings, my friend.
Yep.
Ratings.
Beer Fest. Just bring Beer Fest to ESPN.
Done.
Instead of like the man, have the drunk man competition.
Instead of the strongman competition.
Instead of that, have the drunk man competition.
I think you got to go the whole way with it, though. That's like the play-by-play commentators. Are the play-by-play commentators also drinking? Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's a must.
Every aspect of this is like no good can come from this. And then you see one of the episodes, like the camera is just looking up at the sky. What happened? Well, the cameraman was also drinking, and I think he passed out and put the camera up. That was the whole broadcast. It was our highest rated episode. People were curious what was going on.
See like a bird fly by, then there's a plane going by. Like,
Dave, don't lie to me. You'd PVR that shit and replay it. This is great.
I'd skip work to watch it live. Like, okay,
I'm ready.
got my O'Douls. Let's go.
Done, guys. Done.
We got Bobby mentioning the Tiddlywinks Championship.
Live the dream.
Or Jacks, you could have like the concrete games, whatever you play on, like the concrete hopscotch, Foursquare. I mean,
Hey, look at Pogs when that first came out. They had Pogs World Championships that, if I'm not mistaken, was televised on something when that was a thing.
Ah, the days when we televised literally anything that involves something resembling a competition.
Yep.
again, if they still have dog shows out there and they're constantly on, you can have all this stuff on.
And I will say, at least the dog show, I can picture that some people just really like dogs. So it's just like, all right, I'll watch it because of this. It's like, there's a competition too? Yeah, whatever, sure. The Westminster Dog Show. Literally, the Westminster Dog Show is on every year. So it's like, yep, Westminster Dog Show. There you go. Enjoy.
Bobby, that's overtime in jacks. That's a jack off. So,
Or some of the content here on YouTube. One or the other.
no.
We had jacks. You got jacks off, and then you got jag-offs.
Yeah, I was going to say that's jag off. Last I checked.
That's a third. That's a third category, my friends. Let's make sure we get our nomenclature correct.
There we are. That's...
Checks in the mail, right, Carlos?
Bro, I got you. I hope you like Doge.
As long as you don't appreciate me, bro, then I'm good.
You do have crypto wallet.
Not today.
So Eric, I got to ask, where is this held?
In every university in America.
Well, that's why I'm posing the question. If it's actually something that's, kind of put on by
a specific
Miller.
venue.
Yeah, I'm curious to know where that resides, because that could be interesting watching to see drunk people trying to run in.
It might be what you could do if you want to put a little twist on it is you could do it in a cold climate school and then have snow banks as almost like bumpers to sort of keep them on the track, just to like give you a shot. They're still gonna like fall over and lean on them or something, but like it give you a shot to stay on some kind of a lane.
The one in it's either the northeast of the States or Ireland, Scotland, where they throw it's like with the rock or the ball down the hill and the people run, but then they go ass over tea kettle because they're trying to run and get the ball, but you can't run downhill when it's such a steep grade. I don't remember where that's at, but I've seen video many a time of that where usually they're just you're breaking stuff, you're breaking arms because you want to get whatever ball or whatever this is.
Minus the ball, this sounds an awful lot like the Red Bull. There's like a Red Bull event that they do where it's like a skating thing, but you're also going downhill as well. There's like a whole element to it. There's like a speed skating, but there's like a little tunnel they have with it. It's sponsored by Red Bull. And I watch and it's like, I think everyone doing this probably has a really good chance of dying.
Most anything that the Red Bull promotes
Mm-hmm.
is like one step away from death the wrong way.
Yes.
No, this is like an actual just a hill,
Mhm.
like not even a skiing hill. Just like if you went sledding down it in the winter, you probably would die too because there's so many bumps and like rocks and stuff down that hill. It's somewhere out there. This isn't fictitious. I know I've seen it many a time, and usually these people that are actually joining it have consumed a wee bit of alcohol before this because I don't think doing it sober, you'd hurt a lot more.
Things coming out of the woodworks, folks.
Well, if you recall, I believe we all agreed almost anything that you can come up with has at least been attempted as a spectator sport. Almost everything.
And that's probably very fair statement.
Yeah.
Going along the lines of Red Bull, there was, and I don't know if they still do it. I'm wondering if they do. I stumbled across something that was done by Red Bull, and it's single engine like planes.
Okay.
And you're going through like speed rounds, and you have like certain things that you have to do, going through certain rings, and then doing this and so on and so forth. It's one of those in which you're sitting there going, and these planes are flying faster than crap. But I guess they would consider it an extreme sport.
Yeah.
Because they kind of start and they're like really low on the water, and then all of a sudden they have to do certain things within the course to actually get their time. Eric knows what I'm talking about, but I don't, for the life of me, I don't know what it's called specifically, but it is nuts what those pilots do with those planes. It is crazy.
It's like watching the beginning of Iron Eagle, where he's trying to impress Chappie, and it just balls to the wall, flying. I've seen it.
Yeah, it was, and if I'm not mistaken, they have like the propellers on the front, but it's a single engine plane, and they freaking take those things to the limit. And then, it's a cool thing if you have a moment to watch it. Don't sit there and watch the whole thing, but it's kind of intriguing to watch and see what they actually do with those planes.
Now these are actually real planes, like people in the single engine
Yes.
planes doing it.
Yes. Oh yeah, they are flying it.
Because I can imagine now this, I don't know if somebody has tried this, but you could do something similar to that because there are like some realistic like model planes. I don't know if you've ever seen like the ones where they like do the really cool like radio control planes. You could definitely do something like that, and some of those planes can do a lot of crazy maneuvers.
It's been a while, but it was on a weekend or something, and I was across the street just chit chatting with a neighbor, and sitting there talking about a bunch of things, and all of a sudden we heard what sounded like an engine of like a military aircraft.
Sure. Like a jet engine?
And we're sitting there going, what the hell? And we kept hearing it random.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, off in the distance, somebody was running a remote control like F-14 that sounded no shit like a real freaking jet.
Mm-hmm.
Off in the distance, and we're like, now that is freaking cool.
Yeah, it's been years, but Carlos Sr. and I went to a big field where there was like a club that was meeting, and they do model airplanes. And there were a few guys who had jet propelled radio controlled airplanes. So basically radio controlled jets. Now, obviously they're scaled down, but it's still pretty decent size. Like if you actually look at the physical size it's required, because you got a jet engine in it. So it's like, you're actually doing it but some of them are like very impressive replicas of the real plane. It's just scaled down. Obviously it's radio controlled, but they can maneuver some of those things really well. And it's like, nope, they can do tricks and they can fly it around, and they can only let so many up at a time because they got to control the airspace there. Otherwise the little planes will crash into each other.
Well, and the fact that they sound as realistic as what they do is, but it's a scaled down jet engine. It's legitimate scaled down jet engine. So you would expect it to sound like the real thing.
Yeah. And it's also going to be closer to you because they're not going to get the kind of altitude. So you're physically closer to it, and you're actually hearing a little jet engine going off. And it's way closer than it would be up there. So you'll hear it.
And it's not the first time that I've seen a remote control airplane by any stretch of the imagination. It's the first time I'd ever seen or heard one that was a jet.
Hmm.
Because you see the other ones and they sound like single engine propeller planes and things along those lines. They sound exactly like them.
Sure.
But we're sitting there, like I said, looking off in the distance, thinking, okay, what the hell? We having a flyby? I mean, the nearest air base to where we live is, that way, quite a ways. On occasion, we'll get helicopters that come through here, military helicopters, but we don't usually get aircraft
Mhm.
in our vicinity because there's really no reason for them to fly near us. Not to mention the airports are south of where I live.
Mhm.
And it's not uncommon to where this is like a landing path for planes to the major airports. So they'll start like their initial descent, like coming down over the subdivision where we live in order to go into the airport, which would make sense as to why maybe we don't have a lot of military grade aircraft that kind of fly by over here. But we have gotten helicopters quite a few times. Addison used to do an air show, so that would be a time in which we used to see and hear some of the aircraft coming in. But the fact that random weekend day, all of a sudden hearing a jet engine, and like I said, we're going, where the hell is that coming from? That's like really close. And then we finally saw it off in the distance, and it's a cool deal to watch because, like you said, those are very maneuverable. I mean, they're very maneuverable. They could do the same sort of, things that any other jet could do on a smaller scale. But we hadn't seen them in a while.
Very
It was
expensive
cool to
hobby,
see.
though. I'll say very cool what
Yeah.
some of those guys do with it, but it is not. You want to talk about, and this was probably maybe 10, 15 years ago we were watching this whole display because they would go in fleets. Like all right, you guys now go. The planes would fly for a while, and then they go, all right, come on, land down, and their guys would like model helicopters and all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's like very impressive. Not a cheap hobby. Just,
Well, then, gas powered RC cars.
Mhm.
That's another expensive hobby.
Yeah.
I've seen some of those, and you want to talk about something that can get out on the highway and like fly past a car doing 65 miles an hour. Maybe not as expensive as the planes and everything else, but I'm throwing out an assumption. But I've seen a few of those, and that's another one in which you're just kind of going, how could they incorporate that into a sport?
Oh, I guarantee it's one of those things where it's funny because, and this is not something I'm predicting soon, but when the pandemic first started and you couldn't get people in a place, there were professional racers who basically would have setups in kind of an office and homes and things, and they did virtual races for a little while there. And here's the truth. I understand, like, if you're going live, you want to see the cars run around and everything. But if you're watching it on TV and the technology is up to the point that the driver is really doing what's going on inside the car, you could actually level the playing field and it's the best driver who wins. So it's one of those things where it's like you could have that because then you could run races anytime. You're not worried about weather conditions. That isn't something for now. It could be like 5 or 10 years from now, but it's one of those things where you've eliminated the ability, you've eliminated the actual danger from racing. Now, for some people, that's going to take away the appeal. They won't say so, but it's like, no, the fact that someone could die is part of the reason they're interested, even if they won't outwardly root for it. But there is that element of danger. But if it's just the best racer, technology's gotten to the point you could probably simulate that and get a real test, because in a lot of those car racing things, it's whoever has the best team and the best technology for the engine. That's going to give you a big edge.
That's true.
Yep.
In a lot of senses. For others who watch NASCAR may disagree. I refuse to watch NASCAR. because it's one of the most boring things I think that has ever existed.
You're not excited by the one-sided turn, Steve.
No, it's not exciting to me. Oh, another left turn. Yeah, no.
Come on, man. It's straight away and then left. Straight away and then left. Straight away and then left.
I
Straight away,
could,
then left.
I know a lot of people love it, and they have devout followings. Their drivers do.
They
I
do.
get it.
Mhm.
I loved Gordon back in the day, just because he was, to me, kind of a pompous asshole. Not sure why I kind of enjoyed watching him, but Gordon was good in his prime. Uh, but it's not that I sat there and watched the races. It's one of those in which I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a thing. Who do I like? Okay, yeah, I'll pick this guy. No other rhyme or reason other than that, and then of course watching Sports Center or anything along those lines, and they go over like who won the race and listening to the interview and the winner circle and stuff along those lines. But outside of that, I never watched really a race other than maybe a few laps. Now, NHRA, different story. That I can watch on TV because of the thrill of blazing down a quarter mile at freaking unreasonable feats of speed. That I can watch.
For attention span, drag racing works because their race ain't lasting long, and it's really who can hit the accelerator just a little fraction of a second quicker. Get off the line. Get off the line.
Well, it's pushing of a button in
Yeah.
funny cars and top fuels. I enjoyed the pro stocks and all that, which is, and then even like the modifieds, which were your 60s Cudas and things like that. They're running on alcohol, and it really is more the driver. There is no pushing a button. They're actually having to shift gears as they're going down the track. So that I enjoyed more from the sport perspective, just because I like some of the old 60s cars.
Sure.
But when you're talking about just speed itself, watching some of those guys going down at 310 miles an hour, it's just, and to see it in person, it's one thing to watch it on TV, but to actually see it, it changes the experience.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
So, I don't know if anybody saw that.
Yeah, no, it's for the record, it's like who else but Ed could be looking out for that? It's like Ed, did your safe search for Trevor Bauer on Google go off? Be honest. It's like, damn it, where's Trevor Bauer? Don't worry, I got you, Ed. Oh, sweet. Thank God.
I'd like the one racing that, again, besides Carlos's point, I'd love to go Daytona, Talladega.
Mhm. Sure.
Because you're going to see the big crash. You're going to
Yep.
see mayhem, just like monster trucks and like the new age monster trucks.
Dave, are you not the man of the Russian car crash videos or the dash cam videos or whatever?
Yeah, I want to see nothing but.
Yeah, basically. So like this is on brand for you. And they're like, look, I'm not going to openly root for this. But as the great philosopher King of Van Drago once said, if he dies, he dies.
This is true.
Who am I to question the wisdom of Drago? Of course you got a notification. Like there was no doubt. There's no question. Ed, we got this. Also on brand. We understand.
Shake and bake. Shake and bake. By the way, I hate that freaking movie.
Oh,
Go ahead, Dave. Defend the legend of Ricky Bobby.
oh.
I'll be right back.
Sacha Baron Cohen in there again. Wonderful.
That is. I just, for whatever reason, if it's on TV, I'll watch it if I can't find something else meaningless to watch. It is not my first choice by any stretch of the imagination.
The racing that's super enjoyable to watch in person is like local dirt track racing. as much as you might not know Joey Jojo Shabadoo, who works down at the tire station or the gas station or whatever, that is, and as you go up the ranks, obviously it's more fun, but just something where you don't have to have a ton of people. It can be mainly family, friends, whatever. But you do get people there that are gearheads and just want to watch something because they're not going to travel to Daytona, to Vegas to watch racing, to Bristol, Tennessee, out to Watkins Glen. They're like, man, I just want to watch some kind of racing, and that you can get some good feuds going there. Look what Tony Stewart did to the guy. I mean, he got rid of him. Tony Stewart, a NASCAR champion, going to like some track in New York and saying, you know what? You want to get out of your car? See ya. So it's
The hate has come out because I said
I started scanning through the comments and I was like, "You're dead to me." I like that. Ed decided to be diplomatic and said, "You hate Talladega Nights." Interesting. Yeah, yeah. And then Paul was ready to disown you. We're not for your hockey world, Goldum.
Yeah,
I have no use for it because I just hate Will Ferrell. So I'll back you on this, Steve. I got you, bro.
It's not a Will Ferrell thing. It's that move. It just I don't know. I like my stupid humor movies, but that's one that just I can't watch extensively. Step Brothers I can do. I can do Step Brothers on repeat all day long. But Talladega Nights, I just no.
It's a hot take. Listen, I appreciate it.
I can even watch is it Blades of Glory?
yeah.
I can watch that over and over again. But
What's your stance on Night at the Roxbury?
I can watch it, but I can't watch it on
I like that
repeat.
there was like a hesitation pause. I like that.
I can't watch it on repeat. I can watch it if I hadn't seen it in a while, but it's not one that I can sit there and just put on repeat and watch multiple times over and over again.
Yeah.
Anchorman?
Do what?
Anchorman?
No.
What?
That's another one.
Dave is also ready to disown you.
That's another one. That's another one.
I'm covered under the I hate Will Ferrell clause.
Yeah, you've got the umbrella.
Yeah, it's like, psh, was he in it? It sucks.
Well, Bobby
There is some that I can deal with. There are others that I just call me crazy. I don't have any particular. I couldn't give you specifics as to why those movies I just can't stand. It's one of those in which either maybe I say it, maybe some of it I don't get. I mean, I've got a pretty demented and dry sense of humor, but there's other times in which things just don't click to me as funny. And
It's almost
Talladega
like
Nights.
subjective. It's weird.
Talladega Nights and freaking Anchorman are two of which don't click. They're not funny to me.
Now you're gonna get now Bobby's gonna put in there just what is love ? ..
Well, Carlos is now the Antichrist, as claimed by Eric.
Thank you for catching up to like 1984. We had that covered years ago. They gave me a year. After that, confirmed.
Everybody has their likes and dislikes as it pertains to comedic actors. We've had these conversations before.
It is true. It is true.
So it's, personal preference. I, unlike Carlos, I can't say that I don't like Will Ferrell. There are some things of his that I don't care for. Others I find humorous.
Yeah, I think it's my criteria is always when it comes to comedy, if it feels like you're trying too hard, I'm never a fan of it. So it's like it doesn't matter who it is. So for Will Ferrell to me was always a try hard comedian.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm out of it. You could call yourself Bob Farrell. You could call yourself anything you want. Change your name. It's the style of comedy that I post. Now you happen to be a practitioner of it. That's why it doesn't work for me. There you go, Bobby. You got it. But that's the But that's really the thing. Now, the good news is there's so many movies out there. There's so many categories of movies and so many things. Like, you'll find something you like. So you don't. Life's too short to watch stuff you don't actually care about. Well played, Dave.
When Will Ferrell did wearing the American flag thong or whatever it was on Saturday Night Live, I'm like, that's when you're starting to try too hard, because there's some stuff at the time that was funny, but that was like, you're like, that's not even physical comedy. I can wear that shit too and get laughs. I mean,
You didn't already?
maybe.
If you go back in the archives, isn't it there? Like, are we completely sure it's not there?
Just tune in to his channel. The first thing you see.
I was gonna say, like, I got questions there, Dave. That ship may have already sailed.
So
you're saying he stole your shtick, is what you're trying to actually tell us.
well, it wouldn't be the first time.
Fair. That's fair.
Some of his stuff, I like more of that era of like the SNL guys. Horatio Sands, I loved him,
Okay. Yep.
because anytime he would break character, I'd lose it. Especially with not Jimmy Kimmel. Who the hell is the other? Not Jimmy Kimmel. What's the other talk show host guy that was on there? And
Oh,
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers.
No, I know he's one of them, but
Jimmy
Isn't
Fallon.
it Farrell? No, sorry. Not Farrell.
Jimmy Fallon.
Fallon. Yes, Fallon.
what? Especially the Debbie Downer stuff. Oh, that's you better be wearing a diaper when that stuff's going on, because the one, especially from Disneyland, Horatio Sands is pounding his chest so hard because he's coughing when he's laughing, and him and Fallon can't look at each other in any of these things. And I know back then, I know Lorne Michaels took less kindly to that, the breaking character.
Mhm.
I know over time it's gotten a little better, but still, Horatio Sands was a funny guy, or is a funny guy. That him and the one that got rear-ended by the Walmart truck in the limo, Tracy Morgan. I love him too. He's another.
Hysterical.
His delivery's another. Before now, it's still good, but you can tell he's been in a $8 million lawsuit or $80 million lawsuit car crash with Walmart, because a couple of synapses don't fire as well as they used to.
So you're saying he also stole your gimmick?
Well, yes, that goes without saying as well.
I'm picking up some patterns, Dave. I'm picking up some patterns here.
People pickpocket from me all the time.
I was gonna say, and then we continue on to the next Saturday Night Live. So I hate this guy. I hate his portrayal of like an Amish guy, and then he goes on, and it's like they do this skit with a live stream, and he's got a Texan on the other side. Like, what the hell is this crap? It's like, wait a minute, what the hell? So actually, Eric, the last comment there, the thing with the Fear the Reaper, that skit. That's the only thing Will Ferrell's ever been in that I thought was good. He was there in it, but there the overacting actually worked. It actually played that was the point. The point was him overdoing it. So actually that's exactly right. So it's like, nope, we found the thing you can do. That is the thing you can do.
And that's one I don't care for, because it's been showed so many times, and that's when it comes out, like, oh, more cowbell, that's all you hear somebody say, and like,
Oh, it got worn into the ground. But I'm just saying the skit itself, I thought that was a good skit. I thought they did a good job with that one. Plus the song's good. So it's like, no, I think he did a good job with that one. You even had Will Ferrell in it. You managed to get him there. There you go.
That's what we're shooting for, Paul. Carlos like spoiled the
I
news.
broke the fourth wall, man. Sometimes you gotta. Paul's in. Paul knows the score. You gotta let him. You gotta let him say break the fourth wall a little bit.
I don't know how many generations of the SNL we've been through.
What do you do to cut off of generations though? Because you'll have cast members flip through, and some of them will stick around a little longer. Some of them will come and go. There's always the ones that are transient. So, what do you consider a generation?
Because you figure what the first one would be.
That's
Up to-
Belushi and all them.
Yeah, up to what, 82-ish, 81?
You're talking about the original cast here?
Yeah. Then
Wasn't
you
it like
have
in the 70s?
yeah, Steve Martin,
Okay.
Aykroyd. Then you go what? You probably go.
Sandler,
Well, you go
Schneider.
80,
I think you got Eddie Murphy before that. So you go
yeah,
Eddie
you go
Murphy before that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you got a period there, and then Sandler and those guys would come somewhat soon after that. Not long. Like
Yeah,
there's
you got
some carryover.
Bill Hartman,
Yeah.
like Kevin Nealon, Farley, Myers, Spade, Carvey. Then that'd probably be what, 95-ish, 94, 95, when everybody started going off doing their own movies, because Sandler went, Schneider went, Farley went, Spade, Carvey, Myers, all of them left. And then I think Farley was still around a little. The only guy that was around probably spanning like 3 or 4 generations was like what, Tim Robbins, or not Tim Robbins, the black guy. The ladies' man.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. The
Yeah, and
name
I can't
completely
think-
escapes me.
Yep.
When you said the black guy, I wanted to do the Carl. I wanted to pull the Carl Weathers skit where he was on it, and he goes, "I'm the black guy from Predator." Not Danny Glover, the other one. And I was like, "Yep, you're right, Carl Weathers.
Tim Meadows.
Tim
yeah.
Meadows.
Nice, good stuff."
That, and then after that, then it basically, after when Farley died and Hartman died, then it like switched over. Besides Meadows, so I think he was still on there, like with the Daryl Hammond and Farrell, Chris Kattan. And then after that, I wouldn't even know, because it just seems like it's been a constant. You get maybe like 2 or 3 years, and then you go something different, and then another year and a half, then you sort of have a turnover, and so.
Well, it's funny, Dave, that when the beginning of the show was the whole idea about something becoming redundant. And my problem with SNL a long time ago was that you kind of don't serve a role anymore. If you want to make fun of social commentary, it's like, actually, a lot of the jokes you're making are probably real. Like you're thinking you're making a joke, you think you're spoofing. It's like, no, actually, that's the thing. So reality has become absurd enough. It's like, what's your role? Can you really spoof reality very well? If it's you try to be silly, but it's like you got limits on how far you can do that. So it's like, so what purpose do you serve? You're just kind of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're basically waiting for a presidential election. All right, somebody's going to play the president. Someone's going to play, the VP. Somebody's going to play this one. It's like, well, that's all we got. We got to wait for something.
Either that or the OJ case or something like that, where it's.
Sure. But you actually have to wait for somebody you can't come up with like a character or a skit anymore. You're waiting for something to come and hit you so that you can then write for that.
Yeah.
So now you're reacting instead of, it's basically what happened to Simpsons, because it lasted so long that the original writers went away, and now they're reacting to pop culture instead of like not anticipating it, but like almost being like beat for beat as it's happening. They were like right on it. Now they're like, it happened. Now we must make fun of it.
Yeah, when you had Conan O'Brien writing for them, that was magic.
Yeah. And the thing is, he's the one who gets the most credit, but there were a lot of good writers on that staff. Like he was one of a number. He was like a really good room to be in for writing the comedy, because he was part of that too. But there's a bunch of people in that room who all could figure out, oh, this would be funny. Let's throw that out there.
And that's why that first, what, 6 seasons-ish? 7, maybe?
I think you can get in that initial run. I don't remember how far Conan O'Brien went in, but I think you can get close to the first 9 or 10 seasons because you got to remember they're on season 30, like,
Yeah.
and plus. So it's like we can still go back quite a ways. Beyond that point, it's like it was diminishing returns. They just kind of kept going back to the well. The same that well's been long since dry,
Ooh,
but they just keep extending it because it still gets good enough ratings. Like it just hangs in there year after
Yeah.
year.
that, and for what Eric says, I've been watching a lot of the. Trying to remember what YouTube channel it's on. It's like I am not Norm Macdonald or I'm not Norm,
Mhm.
and there's like just the clips, of, like the OJ jokes. There's like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm like just putting them on, and I'm like by the end, people are just not. They're laughing, but it's like, oh, that you can. I love Norm though. It's like, as I've said before, his comedic delivery was probably bar none the best, just because you didn't have to. He was going to tell his joke, no matter how long it took to get there, if it was shorter, longer, whatever. But just sit there and the joke would come out, and you're just like, is that finally it? Is it ended? And you just sit there and look. Didn't have to be crude, didn't have to be outlandish and all that, but yeah, there's a lot of good people in that. That SNL's at least given a break so we can actually enjoy like all the cool Rob Schneider films. Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, The Animal. That's about it.
I was about to say, like that Rob Schneider well is a very, very. It's like, and that's the end of that.
That's a thimble. That's all that is. That's
You'd be better off picking Rob Schneider cameos in Adam Sandler movies. You'd have an easier time. You can go a lot further with that.
yeah. Rob made money off being Sandler's pretty much lackey.
Yeah.
Which good for him.
Listen,
put
how many movies did he get to be a character where he just says you can do it?
Oh,
It's like this is literally your line. Like, look, he's mastered this one. Just give him that. This is one thing he can do.
yeah, he won't fuck that up. But if you give him a full script,
Dear God.
yeah. Thought the Titanic was a bad tank job. No.
Yeah, well. Yeah. But yeah. No, it's one of those things. That'll always be a subjective thing. Some people enjoy certain things. Some people still enjoy watching SNL. Good for them. It's for me, it's a lot like the late night talk shows. Some people still watch those, and I'm like, I don't get like this format is super antiquated. Like
Yeah.
if you want to see these interviews, you can watch them on YouTube. Like who cares? If for some reason you want to, like, that's it. Okay, great. There's almost nothing exciting to put in there.
No, that's. I'm still shocked those are going on. Just because nobody cares. I mean,
Well, somebody's still watching though. That's the reason why they stay on the air. Like someone is still sitting there. They got it in the background or something. Like they're still watching the thing.
they fall asleep with the TV on. That's about it.
Maybe that's it. That might be the secret.
They need to replace them with the old shop at home down west. Start at 10:35 after your local news or 11:35, whatever the case may be, and shop at home reruns.
Well, if we ever want to test and see how far that works, like my live stream's going long enough, maybe I just put a test pattern on for the last 2 hours and tack it on at the end. Just leave the stream on. Come back later. It's like, how did you get that kind of watch time? It's like I think some people actually fell asleep in front of the computer. Just let it ride.
Yeah, put it on a loop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right when you're
Test
about to wrap
pattern.
it up. Yeah, right when you're about to close it down.
put on a replay from one of your first videos, your first longer videos. Put
I
that
could.
on.
I was gonna say I could just do it. I could just do a, playlist of my old videos and just. Actually, you do the share screen, hit with the audio, hit play on the playlist of the old videos, and just let it run.
See if anybody picks up on it.
It's like, what are you? It's like, what are you doing? You just take yourself off screen and just run the full screen. Yep, you can watch all my old videos. So I get watch time from this and watch time from me playing back my old videos. Bonus.
No, Sandler now is not anything fun.
He's made enough money. I don't think he really cares anymore.
No.
Like at this
Right.
point, it's just like he's made his money already. Like whatever.
And he's still making money from freaking Netflix to do some of the other. And I've heard, I haven't seen any of them, but I've heard they're like garbage. There's some Sandler stuff that I enjoy from time to time, but I've heard people mention that the stuff that he put out for Netflix under that contract was pure garbage.
There's one Tristan I watched, and it was him and God, was it Aniston? And they were on like some boat and overseas, and there's some like I don't know. Don't want to say a Formula One race, but there's some sort of racing going on, and they had to find out. I think who killed somebody. It was so bad. I mean, it was on, and it's like, Billy Madison, give me that, or Happy Gilmore, or something like that. Where
It's his own fault too because he can when he feels like it. It's weird because he can if he feels like it. Because you get Jennifer Aniston in there, that was like in his old wheelhouse. Because he did Wedding Singer with Drew Barrymore, and then he did 50 First Dates with Drew Barrymore, which is nothing to write home about, but it's simple enough. Like Drew Barrymore's a good actress, like she can carry her end of it. You got in the Rob Schneider cameo, like you're covered. you got all the beats you needed. You're done.
Don't forget Blended.
There you go. But it's like no, you can definitely see like a window at which you can do this. Just play Happy Gilmore again, like just play that back. You don't need to go further. We're done.
No. So on that note, I think we covered our hatred for the mediocre and below constant rehashing of topics.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live and hobby content too.
Yeah. I hope not, Eric. Please no. That was horrible.
It'll be straight to DVD, straight to stream, straight to ESPN Ocho.
Straight to Blockbuster.
Blockbuster's dead. There's still one.
And there's a Video Vision still in Superior, Wisconsin.
Interesting.
I was very pleased to see that because that was a place I frequented 30 years ago.
I do enjoy the nearly defunct old video stores that still manage to last. I still have a warm spot in my heart for Jumbo Video. Jumbo Video.
Yeah, I'm hoping at least they stick around a little longer before the DVD completely goes away. And yeah, that's hard not to.
That'll be the next big craze. Everybody's claiming CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, graded. That's supposedly going to be the next big craze that happens.
VHS is already being graded. Vinyl records are being graded. Apparently, Golden alluded to, without saying anything, he's going to. I think he's somewhere peripherally involved with vinyl grading, so that'll be there. But the next thing I think, but DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff wouldn't be a stretch. You just put it in the box.
No.
It'd be really easy to do. You basically already have the cases. Just to put the appropriate size and you're done. Because you do it for video games already. The Wada guys do PlayStation and like Xbox 360. That's a DVD case.
Yep. But yeah, that's going to be the next big boom, supposedly.
So, Dave, just out of curiosity, you don't have to reveal the final number, but how much you plan on paying for the water graded, top condition WrestleMania X7 DVD?
At least
$1.5 million. No, we're going bigger. $1.5 million.
no, four figures on that. If it's a WrestleMania 4 VHS that opens up and you got Hogan and Andre, so it's the double VHS. It's gonna blow that Honus Wagner out of the water. That's
I
gonna
like the
kill.
idea, but WrestleMania 4, like WrestleMania, you talking about 5? You mean the Mega Powers collide?
No,
Or are you
because
talking about the tournament?
the
WrestleMania 4 is the tournament.
just because the box
Okay.
when you opened it up, it flipped up to Hogan and Andre.
Okay.
So that thing, like the old pop-up book or whatever. So if that's in mint condition or gem mint, I'm all in.
I would say scarcity wise, you got something, but I don't know. It's tough to beat Austin and The Rock in Texas.
Yeah.
That was the end of the Attitude Era. It's a historically significant event. That was literally the end of the Attitude Era.
That'll be second on the list. And then of course WrestleMania 2, where you have it at 3 different spots and was absolutely horrible. Bundy and Hogan in the blue steel cage,
This is true.
which was just wonderful to see. And who else? Chicago had the Battle Royal. I think Reg was in there. Jimbo Covert. God, there's like 2 or 3 other NHL.
To be honest, WrestleMania 2 had a really weak card. It really they had some names on it, but Bundy went from main eventing WrestleMania with Hogan to literally being on, I think, an Adam Sandler Netflix movie or something. Like immediately after. Like immediately. It's like, we haven't even invented Netflix. Trust me, you're going straight with Sandler. Go with him.
Or he was on Married with Children at some point in time too.
But here's the thing, real quick, because we wanna wind her down, in consideration of individuals.
Yeah.
Probably Vinny. But anyway, in consideration of individuals. But the Bundy thing was weird though, because like he is a big dude. He looks imposing, he looks intimidating. And he was like in his 20s when he did that. Like he actually could have had a very long career if they had been in the mood to do it. It's like the dude looks like a threat. Why don't you just have him feud with somebody else, but keep him around just in case you need somebody to fill in, for a title challenger or something. You could put Macho Man in Bundy. The dude was in his 20s. Like you could have dragged that out there. The dude's huge.
Same with Bam Bam Bigelow. That was another one. Super young.
For sure. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, considering how young Bundy was when he was doing that, it was weird that like after that, like they never did anything with him and then he kind of faded into obscurity. Relatively. Yeah. It's like, that's odd.
Yeah, he just went away.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like he was basically I think he was on the next show, but it was like in a weird undercard match or something. It's like, guys, he was a WrestleMania main eventer just 1 year ago. Like, what are you doing over here? I don't
know. So we went through the topics, maybe talked about some things that nobody else anywhere ever has talked about in one whole grouping setting, and hopefully got some information out there for everyone. Any last words for anyone? Carlos?
Vinny, it's all you. I want Vinny to have the last word. He brought Neo to us.
Word.
That was better than I was hoping for. That's not bad. That ain't half bad. It's not bad.
I try.
So, we thank you all for joining us. Thank you for Carlos for jumping on. Thank you for Vinny popping in. Thank you all for watching. I know Steve and I talk about this. We're always amazed how many folks watch. I won't say all the way through, but we're happy with what we can bring to the table, what everybody else we have on here brings to the table, and then you guys, gals, you folks out there, you watch it, you listen, you interact. That's always huge. Like we've said, makes the show flow that much easier, that much more smoothly. So thank you for that. Be remiss if I didn't say thank you too for don't see him in here tonight, but Joey. Met up with Joey on Sunday, Packers game. So got to meet him for the first time, and then see another former YouTuber. And I told him, I said, "Hey, get back on here. Just make a video every once in a while. It doesn't out of the card game." Lambeau Leaf fan, Marcus. So just do it. There's a couple guys that come in, the old guard. Told him that Foxy was on, and it's like, really? So maybe we'll get him in here once in a while and try to sprinkle the old guard around, and again, try to forge some new relationships, some new friendships, whatever. Just make it so it's an all-inclusive podcast on Tuesday night, the only one out there. So everybody's welcome here.
I often think of Dave when I think of inclusivity.
As you should.
That is literally the first person I think of.
So does Mr. Webster, his dictionary. I am pictured right there.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And they got your best side. Like, good job by you.
It's a black picture, but that's fine. They said the lens cap was still on for that day, but
we don't see color, Dave.
No.
Inclusive.
This is correct.
So real quick, actually, just as Dave winds down here, I am kind of curious because I can see, I don't know, I know Dave can see it on his end, but like I know that some folks are hanging out watching, and of course, as Dave says, appreciation. A couple of you can hit the like button. It's free. Everything else Dave is about to say is not free. The Patreon and the crypto wallet and all that, but the like button is free. There's enough of you where the math doesn't quite add up. You can hit a like button on your way out.
Yeah,
it's all good. No pressure, but be nice.
Tip your bartender. Come on.
Just saying.
So we thank everyone. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. Venmo, crypto wallet, money order, check, well-concealed cash, PayPal, Zelle, our Discord, our OnlyFans, our Patreon, all the multitudes of social media platforms are on. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, MSN Messenger, AOL Instant Messenger,
ICQ,
whatever that is.
I'll tell you later. It was a thing. Trust me. Trust me.
That was just a blast from the past.
Yeah, I'm here to bring it. Please continue. It was a thing. Trust me. Just trust me on this. It was a thing.
No COD.
No. And anything else I may or may have not forgotten. So, for Vinny, for Carlos, for Steve, I'm Dave. This has been the Insert Revolution podcast. Remember, collecting cards, wonderful. The friendships you forge in this hobby, that's what it really should be about. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.